Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about astrology and the death of Franco Harris. First off, I want to offer my condolences and prayers out to the family and close friends of Franco Harris. If any of these people by remote chance happen to see the video. Franco Harris, was a legendary NFL running back. Many years ago, he was known for that immaculate reception back in 1972. The 50th anniversary of that immaculate reception was actually going to be in 2 days on December 23rd, 2022. It's sad, especially that he had passed away right before this was going to happen. So I'm sure when they have, when they commemorate and honor this day, it's also going to really be about his life as well. And I'm going to talk about, some various things pertaining to his natal chart, his life, his passing, and I also want to get into some interesting transits that took place at the time of that immaculate reception back in 1972. It was nearly 50 years ago today. Is when it happened. In 2 days, it'll be exactly 50 years from now that that transpired. And first off, I mean, they didn't, when I had checked this anyway, they didn't elaborate or expound on the reason as far as his death went. And I don't know, at this point in time, what actually, why he died, what the cause was, whether it was something natural or some disease or whatever it might have been. But he did have, some transits that were indicators of this. He had, transit Pluto in Capricorn in the first house of the physical body. He has, first of all, maybe I better be kind of rewind. His sun sign was Pisces, Moon in Libra, and Capricorn ascendant. Transit Pluto was not far from his ascendant at the time of his passing. Pluto, of course, is associated with death. The first house is the physical body, vitality, and energy. Um, the thing about, and it's also trauma, is what Pluto is connected with as well. And another thing is that transit Neptune was not far from his natal sun as well. And, the sun is about life, and Neptune can dissolve and dissipate. Now, I know it's not a conjunction by transit orbs. Neptune is like at 22 degrees at the time of his passing, and his sun is at 16 degrees Pisces, but I don't think we could say definitively that a planet won't feel a vibration, when it's like 6 or 7 degrees away from another one. When that transit planet is 6 or 7 degrees from the natal planet, that natal planet won't feel the vibration from the transit one. But the thing is, I mean, you're talking about, and also transit Sun, which is about life, is in Sagittarius at 29, I believe it's at 29 degrees at the time of his passing, in the 12th house of endings. And, the Sun, again, is about life. And it's interesting, being at likely 29 degrees is the degree of endings. And it's interesting, it was a life that was involved with sports, and Sagittarius is connected with sports. It could be that life also of expansiveness, exuberance and some optimism and hope. And sadly, another thing too, what I notice as well. I mean, what I wonder about his passing. I'm just speculating on this because, again, I don't know, the reason for his death, because they didn't give any specifics, at least the last time I had checked before beginning this video. But I had wondered if it might be something of a neurological nature, because he does have Mercury in Aquarius at 29 degrees in the first house. So, Mercury and Aquarius, I would say, both could have a connection with things of a neurological nature. Mercury is also the brain. And he also had, transit Chiron in Aries, and Aries is associated with the brain, was not far from his natal north node in Aries at this time. And another thing, I'd like to get at too, is that when I look at this his natal chart, I found one thing that's interesting. It's an adverse aspect. His sun, in Pisces, makes an opposition to Saturn in Virgo, and that could tell me that the life that he lived was one which might have required more work and more of a laborious effort to get what he wanted in life. And Sun in Pisces, to attain those dreams, the fantasies, the ideals. Sun in Pisces is in the second house of self-worth, values, and money. So this naturally was, I'm sure, tied into that. Now, his Sun in Pisces, interestingly enough, is also in a yod configuration. I mean, I would call it a weak yod, maybe because you have this sextile between Neptune and Pluto, and some people may not see this as a yod because you have Neptune and Pluto involved, and Neptune and Pluto are in, have been in, are often in that sextile aspect, which is involved in a yod. A yod configuration, consists of a sextile aspect between, two planets, and then you have both those planets making an inconjunct aspect to a third point. In this case, the third point is the Sun in Pisces, and interestingly enough, again, the Sun, is about our life. It's shining, and in this case, he did shine with that immaculate reception. And the Sun, the Pisces, I would say, is the sign connected with what's miraculous, what's unimaginable, the things that you can only dream of. And he did something on that day that many people can only envision, they could only dream of, that could not make that manifest into an actual reality. I find, and in that point in the yod can be that point of monumental achievement. And the thing is, the fact that the fact it's the Sun in Pisces, it's really also about shining, is what he did, in doing things that were unimaginable. And I'm not even just talking about that one moment when he had the immaculate reception back in 1972. I just mean what he attained during his career in general, and which could be, for many people would be seen as unattainable. He also had, and going looking at his chart some more, looking at the moon, he has the moon in Libra. And somebody had stated on, might have been Kevin Blackistone on ESPN's Around the Horn today, something about Franco Harris's demeanor being very gracious. And the thing about it is, he was, Moon in Libra, can have a very charming, refined, diplomatic, and sociable qualities. The moon is the unconscious as well. And it's interesting, he has it in the ninth house of sports. He has Neptune in the ninth house as well. And Neptune, again, is about dreams. Ninth house is has a connection with sports. Ninth house is the house that corresponds with Sagittarius in astrology. And the thing is, too, is that Franco Harris, interestingly enough, he has his moon in Libra making a square to his Capricorn ascendant. So it shows, that inner personality, the inner demeanor is so vastly different than the ascendant, which is Capricorn, the qualities that he naturally would project outwardly. Because the Capricorn ascendant outwardly is, very, very serious, businesslike, and not and can be dominated by career-related matters, and very ambitious and industrious. And the moon in Libra, is more about having the need for intellectual sociability, and doing doing things with others, collaborating with others, and things more relaxed. So you have, really a strong difference between his ascendant and the moon being in Libra. Now his Sun in Pisces, makes a sextile to his ascendant. So this is where, when you have the Sun making, sextile or trine to the ascendant by itself, can indicate, being able, to show, leadership prowess and ability, and really without coming across as arrogant, in doing so. And I think it's also an ability to shine and stand out without looking like you're, overly, attention seeking. And the thing is, it's also a good combination of that, having those, dreams, I guess you could say, that are more pragmatic and realistic. I would say his Capricorn ascendant strongly grounded his sun in Pisces, and the dreams that he wanted to attain based on the sun in Pisces were likely more of a practical, pragmatic, and more realistic nature. Hold on a moment, people. Now, the thing is, too, now I just want to get at the transits at the time. Some transits that were interesting at the time of that, moment in time, the Immaculate Reception back in December 23rd, 1972, at Three Rivers Stadium, and magical moment in time. And the two things that stood out to me when I'm looking at this, transit Jupiter at the time and transit North Node were close to Franco Harris's ascendant at the time. And the North Node in astrology is connected with the future, the destiny, and I'd say, being destiny, what could be preordained. This was something that was meant to happen at this time, and being in Capricorn, the sign of success and achievements and accomplishments, and it was something. The ascendant is also connected with new beginnings, and he helped propel the Steelers, to get into that, that second round at that time of the playoffs. I believe that was the first round, the wild card game they played against the Oakland Raiders. And the thing about this is, and I'm sure it helped him with some new beginnings as well. Maybe he gained more popularity at the time. Maybe there were more endorsements or what have you. So the thing is, but you're talking about something that was just meant to happen at this time, and having Jupiter, transit Jupiter, not far from his ascendant was a very fortuitous transit as well. Jupiter is the planet of luck, fortune, and prosperity. You're talking about, something that happened that was like on such a monumental, level at that time. And the thing about this is as well, another thing that I noticed I thought was interesting was that transit Uranus at the time in Libra was not far, from his natal moon in Libra. And the thing about that is, what's interesting, Uranus is the planet of unpredictability, what's unexpected, something unusual, bizarre. And being not far from the moon, that's something that could be unusual and very unexpected with the public. And Libra is about balance. So I thought it was interesting that, you're talking about, he did almost a little tightrope, on the way into the end zone when he made the Immaculate Reception. And another thing I wanted to state, I want to be kind and rewind, going back to the North Node transit he had at the time, is that, the North Node I would say, can be about timing, and the fact that he was just perfectly positioned in the right place at the right time, and having the transit North Node near the ascendant, it's hard for me to say that that was just a mere, coincidence. At the time, the transit North Node was in the 12th house of what you would consider, I would say, the unimaginable. I would say, 12th house, Pisces, Neptune, that's all things that are miraculous, things that are, that you would only dream of, things that you don't really think could actually happen, that's unattainable. And he also, at this time, he had, what I thought was interesting, is that the transit Mars in Scorpio at 25 degrees was in, roughly 25 degrees anyway, was in his 10th house, of notoriety and recognition, and it made a loose sextile to his natal Capricorn rising. And Mars and Scorpio by itself, I mean, you talk about Mars being and Scorpio being in its dignity, of course, but Mars and Scorpio can be capable of things that would be, insurmountable to many other people. And the thing is, you're talking about it being in the house transit Mars and Scorpio being in its 10th house again of notoriety, status, and recognition. And it's making a good, a loose sextile to his Capricorn ascendant, which is the physical body. And so that was a very, favorable transit, I would say, for him at that point in time. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else of any significance as far as any transits at this time that he had. Well, I want to go back to the transit of Uranus. That was also making a trine to his natal Jupiter and Aquarius. And the thing about that makes it, that's a very good aspect for something, doing something, very unusual nature at the time. And the Immaculate Reception was something that was very completely unexpected, and having, luck and fortune in that as well. And I would say Franco Harris, I mean, he had there's what I would say 6 of what I would consider of the 12 major astrological influences in air signs. I mean, I know he has Capricorn rising, and Capricorn rising, outwardly, can they want ideas to take precedence over words. But the fact that you're talking about, he had 6 planets in air. Venus, Jupiter, Mercury are in Aquarius, Mars, Neptune, and the Moon are in Libra. That he was more, I would say, sociable, more communicative, more verbose than the typical Capricorn ascendant. And he had 5 planets on the bottom half of the chart and 5 on the top, which shows a good balance between extroversion and introversion, but also optimism and pessimism, and being objective versus being subjective. So it's really not much more I wanted to get into, as far as anything significant pertaining to Harris's chart. The only thing I want to talk about, I thought was interesting too, is at the time there was generational transit, Neptune in Sagittarius, which could manifest in very big, prodigious dreams, and that was closing in on his 11th house cusp at the time. And 11th house is the house connected with goals, aspirations, things that are group and team oriented, and Sagittarius is also about sports. So this was an opportune time for him to make those dreams come true that were sports related. That was connected with the team, and he was a team player on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm sure he was likely that consummate team player as well. The Moon in Libra in the 9th house of sports tells me that there's a very that he likely, that's how he likely was. And he also had Libra on the 9th house cusp in his natal chart. And it's not surprising. I've seen a number of famous people that have passed away. They either have the ruler of the 8th house in the 10th house, or vice versa, or both, and that could indicate a death where people would gain certain notoriety and recognition. In this case is no exception, because Franco Harris had the ruler of his 10th house in the 8th house of death. But anyway, people, again, I just want to state that I do offer my prayers and condolences to the close friends and family members of Franco Harris. And I mean, legendary athlete. I mean, he did so much for the Steelers, in which started with that Immaculate Reception. I think that probably helped propel them to be the great team that they were, that dominant dynasty that they were in the 1970s. And he helped resuscitate, revive and rejuvenate a city. At the time, not having Pittsburgh, Steelers being relevant for some time, he gave them relevancy. He gave them hope and optimism. And it's really the thing is, it's really, that's what he did for that city, and it's not just about bringing and helping the team, playing an integral role in 4 Super Bowl titles. It's the fact that he gave them happiness in the process as well, and might have helped revive the city itself. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.